But then where do you send people? Because some of these countries like Venezuela don't accept deportations right now. Mexico's president indicated her country might be willing to receive non-Mexican migrants who are deported. How does that work? Does the U.S. pay Mexico to then ship those people off somewhere else?
We're hoping that President Trump will work with Venezuela and like he did with Mexico and El Salvador and get these countries taken back. If they don't, they're still going to be deported. They're just going to be deported to a different country. We're not going to be held up on removing public safety threats in this country. We got to put the safety of the American people first.
What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Black Coffee Podcast. Today, we're diving into a hot topic that's been making headlines: immigration and deportation. We've all seen the sound bites, the news clips, the social media debates. But today, we're going to cut through the noise and get down to brass tacks with the help of a recent interview with Tom Homan. Now, for those who don't know, Homan is a former ICE director, and he's not shy about his views on border security. Let's just say he's been making the rounds on news outlets lately.
You know, a number of industries in this country hire undocumented workers because they are cheap labor. On day one, are you going to restart raids on work sites, on construction sites?
The President Trump's been clear, as I've been clear from day one, that President is going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. And have you heard from your previous segments, we have a huge national security issue in this country. The southwest border has become the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen in this nation. FBI Director Wray agrees with me. We know there's people in this country who pose a national security threat. They've arrested a record number of people on the terrorist watch list, a 3,500% increase in people on the terrorist watch list being arrested at the border. We got over 2 million known gotaways. We know 2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested, weren't vetted, weren't fingerprinted. So you got to ask yourself, why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn themselves into Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care?
I mean, how do you know where the criminals are, I guess is the question. And if they're working at a work site, are you going to show up to surprise them?
Well, look, we know where a lot of the criminals are. ICE they're great at this work. We know where some are, but they simply haven't been able to go arrest them because the Secretary of America's priorities, it handcuffed ICE. And here's what's going to happen when we go to the community and find that person, find that criminal alien, he's probably going to be with others will have to arrest.
Okay.
So
what you just said in there, it sounded like you were talking about collateral arrests. So you're going to target people you know are criminals, but if they happen to be living in a house where there are other undocumented people, you're going to sweep them up too.
Okay, so a recent interview with CBS News host Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation has caused a stir. It seems Homan is not holding back. The interview, as some might say, became a fact-checking session of sorts. The conversation touched on several key areas. Let's unpack some of them. One of the main points is the difficulty in deporting people to certain countries. Venezuela, for example, isn't accepting deportations right now. This raises questions about where those individuals are sent and whether the U.S. pays other countries like Mexico to accept them. This is not a new problem, and it requires international cooperation that the U.S. may not always get. Homan is very clear that the focus is on public safety and national security. He emphasizes that the southwest border is a major national security vulnerability. Homan claims that the FBI Director Wray agrees with this assessment. According to Homan, there has been a significant increase, a 300% increase, in people on the terrorist watch list being arrested at the border.
what I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his
Mr. Homan,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
We're talking about how you're going to deal with it. That's why I'm asking you, when you say criminals, does that mean you are going to go into already existing prisons at local level and deport people who are in those prisons? Are you going to go to workforces?
As far as being in jails and prisons, we would love to work in local jails, but sanctuary cities won't allow us into those jails. It's much easier to arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of public jail than out in the street, because the officer is safer that way, the alien is safer that way, the community is safer that way. But sanctuary cities who continues to release public safety threats back in the community, to the immigrant community, it puts that community at greater risk of crime. If more agents in the jails means less agents in the neighborhoods. That's why I'm pleading with sanctuary cities, let us into jail to arrest the bad guy. That way you're not forcing in the community. So, if you go to an immigrant community and ask them, would you rather have ICE operating in your local jails, or would you want them in the community? What do you think they're going to say? They don't want bad criminal aliens in their neighborhoods either. So let us work with the jails. Let us work with law enforcement. Sanctuary cities are not safe for the immigrant community. They're not safe for our officers. We got to put the safety of the American people first. We've had too many young women murdered and raped and burned alive by members of Venezuelan gangs. They need to be a priority under this administration. They're going to be a priority starting day one, and they will be deported.
We will stay tuned for the details. Border Czar Tom Homan, thank you for your time.
Now, this is where things get tricky, right? We're dealing with human lives, complex legal frameworks, and a whole lot of political baggage. Here's my take. 1. Nuance is key. We have to move past the sensational headlines and the extreme rhetoric from all sides. This issue isn't black and white. It's a complex situation with real human impact. 2. Community safety. No one wants to live in fear, whether you're a longtime resident or a newly arrived immigrant. But we also need to have a thoughtful, comprehensive approach to addressing both issues. 3. Sanctuary cities. Sanctuary city policies raise some valid questions, and the source argues they may actually put their communities at risk. The role of the media. We need to be critical of the media's coverage and be aware of any potential political manipulation of the facts. This is where you come in, fam. What do you think about all of this? What other questions do you have? Let's continue this conversation in the comments. Share this video if you find it helpful, and let's keep the discussion going. Remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay real. Until next time, this is the Black Coffee Podcast, signing off.
But then where do you send people? Because some of these countries like Venezuela don't accept deportations right now. Mexico's president indicated her country might be willing to receive non-Mexican migrants who are deported. How does that work? Does the U.S. pay Mexico to then ship those people off somewhere else?
We're hoping that President Trump will work with Venezuela, and like he did with Mexico and El Salvador, and get these countries taken back. If they don't, they're still going to be deported. They're just going to be deported to a different country. We're not going to be held up on removing public safety threats in this country. We got to put the safety of the American people